Hello and welcome back to the channel. The ratings story around She-Hulk continues to get even worse. Now, this is hard to fathom. Without further ado, let's get into this story. She-Hulk ratings in the gutter. First Marvel show not to make the top 10. This is Kevin Feige has another MCU bust on his hands as fans keep tuning out of Marvel. All right, much like Ms. Marvel, a show that nobody was excited about, the She-Hulk ratings are also in the gutter, where it's actually worse, as She-Hulk is the first Marvel show on Disney Plus not to make any of Nielsen's top 10 list. Didn't make the original list, didn't make any of the top 10 lists. The first episode of She-Hulk, which actually featured Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk, debuted on August 18th on Disney Plus. But even Mark Ruffalo wasn't enough to draw in a decent amount of viewers. Nielsen released its ratings for the week of August 15th through the 21st, where She-Hulk is not listed, and even got beat out by the kids animated series Bluey on Disney Plus, and then 9 Netflix shows. Now, the first episode of Ms. Marvel made Nielsen's top 10 original list, but then the ratings quickly dropped off because that also is a horribly written show. And episode 2 failed to make the Nielsen top 10 original list. The first time ever for a Marvel show, and now She-Hulk shares that same company. Now, checking the Nielsen original ratings for the week of August 15th through the 21st reveals that She-Hulk doesn't even make the list, and the last listing actually being only 395 million watched minutes, and that was for Netflix's Instant Dream Home. So we know She-Hulk has fewer than 395 million minutes. If we go look here, we can see the chart. Sandman topping that chart, which again, I think, and I've said this before, Sandman is actually a pretty good show. It is entertaining. It is well written. Caveat though, there is a lot of woke identity politics and things like that purposefully injected into it. And it's noticeable in each and every episode, and you will, in my opinion, be drawn out of each episode at least once. You'll notice it. But, you know, that is what it is. Little, hey, look at us, look at this. The story is actually really good. The characters are interesting, and it's actually a good show. Good characters, good plot. But yeah, it's just got that woke thing going on, and it's quite noticeable. Second place was Stranger Things with 919 million minutes, and then some shows that never have I ever heard of, like Never Have I Ever. Lock and Key I've heard of, but I've never been able to get into it. And Untold, and then Virgin River, I don't know those. Then A League of Their Own. She-Hulk got beat by A League of Their Own? Fucking embarrassing. Echoes, only endings in the building, which actually looks like an interesting show, but I just haven't started watching that yet. When I get a chance, I plan to actually watch it. And then finally, Instant Dream Home by Netflix. Now we can see here Marvel fans are not watching Disney Plus, and I talked about the tent poles that Disney has for Disney Plus a long time ago. Marvel and Star Wars, and then a bunch of the original Disney content. Marvel has not been doing good, and even Star Wars is suffering after, well, some terrible outings by Boba Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi. But getting back to Marvel, we see the first episode of Ms. Marvel was only watched for 249 million minutes. Now I want to work backwards through this, and let's go back all the way to January of 2021. That's when Marvel's flagship debut on Disney Plus, WandaVision, was watched for 434 million minutes. And then things actually got better from there. 3 months later, in March of 2021, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier debuted and was watched for 495 million minutes. And then another 3 months later, the first episode of Loki drops and was watched for 731 million minutes. So things just continued to get better and better. And then the first 2 episodes of Hawkeye debuted in November of 2021, so about 5 months later, and they were watched for 852 million minutes. Then things began to derail, and from there it gets dark. Moon Knight didn't exactly shed a lot of moonlight on the viewers, as it only pulled in 418 million minutes. And then we see again, first episode of Miss Marvel coming in at 249 million minutes, which is a terrible showing. My guess is that She-Hulk debuted somewhere between 249 million minutes and the 395 million minutes that we know Instant Dream Home came in at. So less than 395, but I'm guessing more than 249 because there was a little bit more anticipation and excitement for She-Hulk by the general community, which quickly dissipated. And a part of that was, well, a lot of people tuned out even in the first episode. Now, the rumors have it that within just the first few minutes, many people tuned out of She-Hulk at the point in time where Jen Walters says, so I'm better than you. Apparently that was just too much. People could see what was getting ready to happen. They were wary and they just didn't want to watch that. And at the point where some new unknown character voices, this arrogance, this blatant arrogance, and says, oh, look, I'm better than you. That didn't go over well. Now, in the second episode, people also tuned out en masse, and I believe that was at the point where she went on her whiny rant. Or part of her character is that she's extremely confident. Not the type of character who just has all this self-doubt, and that's exactly what she was expressing at that moment. A bunch of self-doubt in this big, long, fourth wall-breaking monologue where she then goes into a tirade against a bunch of white men in a boardroom and saying they never had to go through all the things I've gone through. You haven't seen what I have seen. Yeah, that's pretty much what that moment was. And people clicked off the show. Now, this news of She-Hulk ratings being so bad actually fits with what Wall Street analysts and data analytic companies have said, in that the Marvel brand is not doing anything for Disney+. Now, we can probably also guess this is why She-Hulk has terrible visual effects and writing, actually, as apparently Disney isn't giving the Marvel shows any budget, as if Marvel isn't bringing in any new Disney Plus subscribers, and it's probably not. But you see, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, though. If you make terrible shows, then people aren't going to tune in for those terrible shows, and word of mouth gets around. And as well, I think what really probably did them in maybe in this gap here is maybe not even the Marvel shows, but the other shows that they were putting out, things that hurt them, like, Boba Fett hurting them. Keep in mind, between Hawkeye and Moon Knight was Boba Fett, the debut of Boba Fett, and it was not that well received, and people had a lot of issues with it. If we look at Boba Fett, it ran from, so basically the end of December 2021 through February, the early part of February 2022. And then we got Moon Knight, and I think maybe these Marvel and Star Wars are starting to have an impact on each other. The terrible writing for one franchise is obviously creating a negative feedback loop for the other franchise, in my opinion. I don't know for sure, but if people see one terrible show on Disney Plus and think, well, that was awful, then they might have doubts about the next show that they see on Disney Plus, even regardless of whether it's another Star Wars show versus another Marvel show. So Moon Knight did not bring in a lot of views. Now, also, Moon Knight is not as well known a character, so that also could be having an impact here. But not only that, but the first few episodes of Obi-Wan had already come out as well before Miss Marvel ever debuted. And then Obi-Wan had actually finished. I would say that Obi-Wan Kenobi was not well received by some of the fans who were, well, quite frankly, expecting something better and different than what they got. And I think you just continue to burn bridges slowly as you go on through these shows. And then you've got She-Hulk, and by then, I think the damage is done. But that's just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, who knows. It seems like Disney's not actually interested in making good quality content, and it really shows in She-Hulk. The writing is terrible. Yes, the visual effects are frequently distracting, and it does seem like, yeah, the show is confused about who its target audience is, thinking its target audience is only women. Now, I do know that they make up 51% of the population in the US, but still, deciding to basically alienate 49% of your potential audience, and even probably more than that, considering that She-Hulk was largely a comic book that was read by males. So yeah, I don't think that was the best approach by just basically depicting all males in a negative stereotype and trying to make the She-Hulk show something that only appeals to women, really just making it cringe third-rate feminism in the end. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. In the meantime, if you want to continue to smash the narrative, Hulk smash the narrative, let's not She-Hulk smash the narrative because she's not very good at it, well, then please click that like, share, and click the subscribe button. If you're enjoying the content you're seeing, then help out a small channel as we move to get towards 1,000 subscribers. A sub would help out immensely. That's all I have for now, and I will see you in the next video. Have a great day.